Welcome to Creative Tian channel. Today I'm going to knit a cable scarf with my LK150 knitting machine. I'm using my cloud-bone worsted weight yarn. It is made of alpaca fiber, so it is very soft. Because this is a scarf, the exact tension is not critical. You can always make a sample and block it to see if you like it. For this project, I'm going to use a lot of hand manipulation, including the ribbon and the cable stitches. First, I have to decide where I want to place my ribbon that's hand manipulated. So I have it every 4 stitches, and I pull out the needles to see how it looks on the machine. I already have a sample, so I know how wide I want approximately. After you're happy with the layout of your ribbon pattern, you can start casting on. And you can cast on any way you like with a revel cord, waste yarn, or you can just do the E-wrap cast on directly. I'm doing the E-wrap directly. This way it's very straightforward, but the downside is that the edge can be a little bit not straight, and it might be a little bit more difficult to start cast on compared to knitting with the waste yarn first. And I set up my tension. I have 6.5 on my carriage. Then I will knit a few rows of plain stitches. Depends on how long you like your ribbons to be. We knit up the row numbers for the ribbon first. After knitting a few rows of the ribbon section, I start to reform the ribbon. And I drop off the needles that's supposed to be reformed into purl stitches. So for me, I have every 4 stitches, and this way I don't have to reform a lot of stitches, like in 1x1 ribbon. For reforming the stitches, I just drop the stitch all the way down and use my latch up tool to pick up the first 1 or 2 lines at the bottom. And I like to give it a twist first. This way it will be tighter at the beginning, so it's not too loose. So after I twist it, I start to latch back up 1 by 1 and then hand the last stitch back to the needle. And I will do the same all the way across. So that's every 4 stitches I have it reformed to purl. So that's my ribbon part. For the main part, I want to have cables on both sides and cable crossing in the center. And next to the cable stitches, I have reformed purl stitches, so the cable pattern will stand out more. And you can decide how many rows you liked before the cable crossing. For me, it's about 16 rows. So every 16 rows, I have a cable crossing in the center and on both sides. For the first cable crossing and the last one, I only want half of the 16 rows. So I need 8 rows and start my first cable crossing. And we'll do the same at the end. After the last cable crossing, I will knit 8 rows, reform the purl stitches, and then start the ribbon. And for the cables, I have 6 stitches. So I use my 3-prong transfer tool and just cross it and hand it back to the machine. I always cross the cable in the same order so it's in the same direction. If you want, you can play with different directions. Maybe make it symmetrical on the left and the right side. The easiest way is to just keep them all in the same directions. So we just keep repeating that. We cross the cable, knit about 15 or 16 rows, and reform the purl stitches, and then cross the next cable. And this can be a little bit tedious, but it's not as difficult as it looks. When the scarf is long enough, you can do the last cable crossing, knit about 8 rows or the row number to match the beginning, and then knit the ribbing part to match the beginning. You can start with plain stitches and then hand manipulate the purl stitches. And then just bind off, steam block, and you are finished. This scarf looks pretty classic, and I really like the softness of the alpaca yarn. It does take a little time to finish because it's a long scarf, but it's also a very straightforward project, even for beginners. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I will talk to you in the next video. Happy knitting!